We could just let the party music keep on rolling, because on today's edition of the 1203, we're throwing a party. Parker,
Woo!
cue the
H-Town, throw it down,
throw
baby.
it down for the H. The Astros have advanced despite all the hate.
Just like that. Just like that. Well, the hate is indeed the part I'm focusing on right now because obviously celebration, but how sad were the ESPN announcers? They were at least in game one, I actually got to watch some of game one. When we came back in the ninth inning, I mean, a lot of tears were shed. I mean, you could hear the pain in their voices. They kept talking about, well, the Astros cheated. The Astros cheated all back in 2017. They were showing the stats of Altuve and how he was struggling or whatever. And they were just like so sad when Brantley hit that go-ahead. And then, I mean, the snowball just fell down. And talk about, Framber Valdez. Oh, my God. Valdez had a game.
He really did. We're going to break it all down in today's show. I'm Reed Graff. Parker Ray is joining me. It's just us two this week. We've had a lot of great guests on over the past few weeks. My brother Ryan, Sean Shannon came on the show last week. Had a great conversation. But we have such good stuff to talk about. The positivity is at the highest it's been in a while here on the 1203. For those of you that have no idea what we're talking about, the Astros defeated the Minnesota Twins. I believe it was 3-1 today to advance.
3-1 today, yeah.
3-1. They swept the series 2-0, and they are now headed to the American League Division Series, despite losing Justin Verlander, despite losing so many different. We've had injuries all year long. We've been playing minor leaguers, dude. We're below 500 heading into the playoffs. All we heard is how this is the Twins' year. Twins are going to be the heroes. Well, we took it to the Twins. Astros.
They talked about it. They talked about it. They were like, I mean, this is just how bad the announcers were. Okay, because they didn't give. I mean, they may have talked about records a little bit, but they didn't really give a lot of stats. It was just the way their voice was. They were just like, a terrible road team came in and beat a great home team. And while statistically that may be true, it's just the way they said it. When the Astros won game one, they were like, well, I guess that could happen. A terrible, shitty road team came in and beat the Twins. Just how did that happen? There's no way it's happening again in game two. And, well, would you look at that? Game two was a lot safer, I would say, even than game one. Game one, I was scared. Game two, I was like, okay, I kind of got a little more confidence going into game two. And then when the Astros took the lead, I mean, Carlos Correa, after that Carlos Correa home run, I guess it was like in the seventh inning, I was like, okay, the Astros they're closing the deal. This is the playoff Astros. This is like Correa hit the home run. We don't care where we're playing. Like, this team is still damn good. I mean, people don't realize the talent this team still has.
It's as simple as this. The Astros know how to win. They know how to win in the postseason. They know how to win, buzzer or not, trash can or not. This team has been there, done that. They know how to win in the postseason. Twins do not. So that's what it came down to. One team knows how to win when it matters. One team didn't. And that's what we saw. Let's break down game one a little bit. In game one, of course, Zach Greinke gets the start. Goes about, 4 innings? I'm pulling up the box score right now so I can go a little bit more in depth.
Yeah.
I know that he left early. So Greinke goes 4 innings, strikes out 1, gives up 2 hits and an earned run. I think the game is, we are down 1-0 when he comes out of the game in the 5th inning. Down 1-0. The Astros then get a run in the 7th on a single by George Springer, one of the guys that's probably not going to be on the team next year, if we're being honest with ourselves. George Springer singles, scores Josh Reddick in the top of the 7th, and then in the top of the 9th, when it matters most, the team that knows how to win wins. Get the bases loaded. Jose Altuve walks. Yuli scores. Also, we're going to talk about Yuli here in a little bit. Some more big news. And then later in the inning, it's 2-1. Michael Brantley comes up, delivers the big 2-run single. Uncle Mike gets the job done. Astros take game 1. But really, the star of that game is Framber Valdez. 5 innings,
Yes.
5 strikeouts, 2 hits, no runs. The dude just shoved.
Yeah, and they were talking a lot about Valdez too, and the announcers were like, "Well, is he going to go back out there? Is he going to go back out there? Well, is Dusty going to pitch him? Oh, Dusty's going to take him out now. I know Dusty is. Look, Dusty's over there. He's going to take him out. Oh, if he gets this hitter on, Dusty's for sure taking him out." They were second guessing Dusty. I mean, every step of the way, and they were doing it in the ninth inning too. They were like, "There's no way Valdez comes back out in the ninth inning," which I don't know. Maybe the difference between AJ Hinch and Dusty, maybe AJ would have taken him out early in the ninth inning and said, "Here, let's throw in Ryan Presley. Let's do this." But Dusty sees, okay, my guy's working. My guy's doing good. You could tell Valdez looked over to the dugout, looked right at Dusty. Dusty just stares back at him and says, "Hey, this is your game, baby. You're the reason we're in this game. You're the reason we're winning. You're going to finish this game." And that's the player's coach Dusty Baker is. Not saying AJ wasn't a player's coach, but Dusty Baker is a player's coach. Everybody knows that. And he had confidence in his players, and he was like, "Listen, I see the sheet. I see the sheet. I should probably, in this situation, it would make sense to bring in Ryan Presley, whatever. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with Valdez. I'm going to stick with the guy who has the momentum." And it turned out great. Valdez got out of the inning. Astros win 4-1. I mean, he was kind of had that Charlie Morton vibe where he just kept going and going. Are we ever going to take him out? Nope. He's just pitching and pitching and pitching. And, 60-something, 70-something pitches later, the Astros win the game. And before you know it, Valdez, I mean, he was unbelievable. It was awesome to watch.
Speaking of Charlie Morton, I got a stat for you from that game. No Astros relief pitcher in the history of the franchise had ever pitched more than 4 innings in relief in a postseason game. The last one to pitch 4 innings was Charlie Chuck Morton
Of course.
in Game 7 of the 2017 World Series. Now, Framber Valdez came in and threw 5 innings. So he not only did he set a precedent, he followed up on another awesome obviously postseason showing by Charlie Morton. I'm also trying to pull up some stats for you. So that just goes to show like how important of a contribution that was from Framber. Framber is only 26 years old. He was probably, for being honest with ourselves, he was probably the Astros' best pitcher in 2020. 3.57 ERA. He started 10 games, went 5-3 through 70 innings, only gave up 5 homers. Struck out 75 and walked 16. That is a really strong strikeout to walk ratio. And Framber is really starting to look like he could be a key part of this rotation going forward. And I think with that kind of postseason effort, we got one from Jose Urquidy last year. We got a really good, strong postseason performance. The Astros, all of a sudden, on a team that's been really hurt by pitching and is apparently they lost Justin Verlander for next year at the latest. This is a team that all of a sudden has some pitching depth, and guys like Framber, Christian Javier shoved today in Game 2. I mean, this is an Astros team that doesn't have a ton of the big name pitchers. You got Zach Greinke, you got Lance, but without Justin Verlander, you lost a lot of that depth. But obviously, it's still there.
Yeah, from a casual baseball spectator, because I know you definitely go more in depth than I do when it comes to baseball. I was just thinking, okay, I was talking to my dad. I was like, yeah, we got Greinke, we've got McCullers, but who is a 3 step-up guy? And I'm thinking, you're Queedy or Valdez. Right now, I would lean Valdez just because of what he did.
It's definitely going to be Valdez.
But Valdez is going to be, because when you get into those 5-game series and 7-game series, you need at least 3 good, solid starters you can count on. And McCullers and Greinke, obviously, boom, right there. And then, you throw in Valdez, and if you get this type of Valdez, the sky is the limit for the Astros. And we know offense is going to be there because, look, Correa, all those guys that are still stepping up. Uncle Mike, the day before. Kyle Tucker, your boy Kyle Tucker, 2 big RBIs today for Kyle Tucker. He was responsible for 2/3 of the offense today.
I've been saying he's legit for years, and now we're seeing it.
Now we're seeing it in the playoffs, nonetheless. So there's no argument to be made against Kyle Tucker. There's really no argument. Correa's balling. Springer's doing his thing. Obviously, Springer's gone. Whatever. If he's gone, this is the way to treat him off, get him another World Series ring, and then, as sad as it is, let him walk, let him do what he wants. Maybe they are playing a little bit for Springer. Maybe they are playing a little bit for pride at this moment. They know they've been trash talked, pun intended, trash talked this whole year. And so this is the revenge story we were talking about. Maybe it didn't start in the regular season. Maybe the regular season was just a warm up because it was just 60 games. Maybe the Astros are finally getting to what would usually be like around midseason form. Maybe they are getting to that point in time now because we saw it a little bit against the Rangers when they scored 12 runs against the Rangers in the one game. I know it was just the Rangers, and people are like, why are you celebrating a Rangers win? It's because for the longest time this season, we haven't seen the Astros dominate baseball game like that, like they did against the Rangers. It's been a while since we've seen that. We're used to these double-digit onslaughts by the Astros bats. Well, we saw it against the Rangers, and we're starting to see key timely hits in the playoffs and the offense starting to explode. Those seventh, eighth, and ninth innings for the Astros, those are the magic innings. You get in a close game with the Astros going into the seventh, eighth, or ninth inning, you should be nervous because of the playoff experience and because of the guys they have on their roster. It's not going to be an easy game. There's not going to be an easy win when you play the Houston Astros this year in the playoffs. It's not the same. It's not the team we saw in the regular season. It's a different team now. It's playoff mode, and I think they've finally reached playoff mode, and that's just a dangerous thing for most teams.
I don't think people around the league realize that either. Like there is something to that, to being able to win in October when it matters. And the Astros have proven they can do that. They've been doing it for a while now. They did it in 2015, came up just short against the Royals, and then they did it in 2017. Trash cans or not, they did it in 2019. They've reached. They've reached the championship, the ALCS for the past 3 years. 3 years in a row. That doesn't happen by accident. Like that. This is a team that knows what it is doing in October in the postseason.
Yeah.
Maybe not as strong of a team as it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but it is still a team that knows how to win in the postseason. They're going to continue to do this, so you might as well get used to it. Because the Astros are going to be in the postseason, and they're going to win in the postseason for probably a long time. It's just the way it is. This is a group that knows what they're doing, and they know how to win when it matters. But let's talk about that broadcast. I admittedly did not watch much of Game 1. It was in the middle of the day. Tuesdays are busy days for me, so I did not get to it. I caught a little bit of today's game. And if you were listening to the ESPN broadcast, then you would know that it actually wasn't Carlos Correa that hit the go-ahead home run in the 7th inning today. No, it was Alex Correa. So gotta correct you on that. It was according.
I thought you were like, I was like, oh,
according,
sure it was
according to the ESPN broadcast, it was Alex Correa that hit the home run, not Carlos Bregman. Don't mind you. Alex Correa hit the home run, and that so it just beautiful broadcasting by ESPN. Definitely no bias. Definitely didn't run a graphic of Trevor Bauer, who had no relevance to the series at all.
No relevance
at all. And, oh, by the way, Reds lost today, so screw it, Trevor Bauer. You're gonna be out of the playoffs here, and so.
Well, that's unbelievable to me that they didn't know who Carlos Correa was, and the fact that is one of the better players on one of the top teams in the league. Whether you want to look at record or not, the Astros have been a top team for a while now. They're earlier in the season, before the season started, they were still one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to win it all. So now all of a sudden you're acting like, oh, there's no way this team can win now. I mean, look at the regular season record. Look at the record. There's no way they can come into Minnesota and win. Oh, who's this guy? Oh, some random Alex Correa hit. No, he's not random. He's a World Series champion.
At his best, he's an MVP caliber player. One of the best shortstops in the league.
I don't care how they got. I don't care about the statistics or whatever. Not the statistics, but the way they got it or the cheating or whatever. They're World Series champions, and they were in the playoffs last year, and they were in the World Series last year, and almost won last year. So this Astros core is still very, very good. It's like they completely dismissed it. They lost their marbles when the cheating stuff came out, and now it's like it's the narrative they keep running with. They keep going back to the well because the Astros are the only thing in baseball that's worth watching. They really is. Astros are the only thing in baseball that's actually interesting to watch. For just normal, if you're just a normal sports fan, you're like, oh, I hope the Astros. I hope you want to see the Astros lose really bad, or you want to see them win very bad. It's kind of like LeBron James in basketball. That's why they keep talking about LeBron. The same reason they keep talking about the Astros and dogging the Astros is because Astros are the narrative they can run with, and they can get more clicks and they can get more likes. And average baseball fans are like, yeah, I hope the Astros get pegged today. I hope they get creamed. People who don't know anything about the sport are going to tune in to watch the Astros, and their numbers are going to go up. So that's why they're running with this narrative. And the Astros can be the bad guy. That's fine. They keep winning. They keep being the bad guy. I'm 100% okay with them being the bad guy and making everybody else in the country mad. I'm so fine with that. We can be like the bad boy Pistons. I'm completely fine with that.
Well, they can keep hating and we'll keep winning.
Yeah.
You did mention the core, keeping that core together. I think James Click may have showed he's willing to spend and make that happen because he signed Yuli Gurriel, the Astros first baseman, to a 1-year extension. And now, mind you, Yuli's like 35, so he's up there. But he had a career year last year, had a pretty solid year this year. Signed him to a 1-year extension, keeping that infield together. I think Carlos Correa's contract year is next year. Bregman's locked up, Altuve's locked up, so you're keeping that infield together. Where do you see them going in the offseason as far as re-signings go? I think you're going to have Brantley, Springer, and Reddick are all free agents. I can just about tell you Reddick's probably not coming back. Not any slight against Josh Reddick. I just don't think that he fits, especially with the emergence of Kyle Tucker and what Kyle Tucker has done. I just don't think he fits. That's so many lefty bats. If they're gonna keep two of them, it's probably going to be George Springer and Michael Brantley. I'd be really shocked if they kept both. Now the question to you, I know we just won a playoff series, so we're not in the off season yet. But if you had to choose, you can keep George Springer, but it's going to cost you a lot. You can keep Michael Brantley, but it won't cost you as much. But he's obviously not quite the MVP type player. What would you do? Keep in mind, Lance McCullers is going to have to be re-signed. Carlos Correa is going to have to be re-signed. Altuve is going to eventually have to be re-signed. So keep that in mind when you make this decision.
Yeah, and I've said, and I was thinking about this like a few years. I mean, even a few years back, I was thinking about this. Like, who's the odd man out? Because when you're looking at the Astros core, I think of the big four. I think of Correa, I think of Altuve, I think of Springer, and I think of Bregman. Those are my 4 cornerstone guys. I mean, I think every Astros fan would say the same.
I'd agree.
So, but the odd man out is George Springer, and I just hate to say it. I love George Springer. He's a catalyst. He's the spark plug.
He's the second best center fielder in the AL.
Yeah,
straight up.
Is.
Straight up.
He is. But then that's where it gets. That's just where it gets tricky because then you've got like Alex Bregman, the best third baseman, right?
Rendon gives him a run, but yeah, I'll agree with that.
Altuve, the best second baseman in my opinion. Correa.
I would say Javi, but Javi plays short.
Yeah, Correa, one of the best shortstops. So, I think you have to lose. I think you have to lose Springer and then just try to re-sign some of those other guys. I mean, I think if you keep Springer and then lose a couple of the other guys, then it kind of defeats the purpose of doing that. So I think Springer's the odd man out, and then if you can bring Brantley back for a kind of a lowered price, which I think would, Brantley's great, Kyle Tucker's great,
Jordan's great.
Jordan's great. We wouldn't have that spark plug, but we would. I think emotionally, I want to keep Springer, but. Logically, I just think you have to. He's the odd man out and has been for a while, and I know he wants to go back to the Northeast.
I was gonna say that's the issue.
Where he's from.
He's a Connecticut. He's a Connecticut guy.
Yeah, no, I'll probably go play for the Yankees.
No, dude, he's going to Boston because Connecticut. He's from UConn. He went to the University of UConn. I don't really know much about his wife, but I don't know where she's from. Boston is in just dire need of a spark plug. They just lost Mookie Betts. It makes sense. It just makes sense for him to sign in Boston. Especially with all the cheating scandal and all the fallouts, I feel like he's one of the guys that has been pushed away by that maybe. I could be wrong. I could just a feeling I'm getting. I predict him signing with Boston. That's just what I see happening.
I knew he would go to the Northeast for sure.
I
I
don't
just
think
felt
he's
like
going to
it
go to
was
New
one of
York.
those teams.
I don't think this is going to sound crazy. I don't think New York has the money to spend on George Springer. George Springer is going to be expensive, and they've spent so much money in the past 2 to 3 years on guys like Giancarlo Stanton and Garrett Cole, and they're going to have to re-sign Judge, and so like I just don't think they can afford another, especially considering who they're going to have to re-sign. I don't think New York can afford another massive signing like that in the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe they could, and I could be underestimating the power of the New York bank account, but I just, with the massive Stanton contract, the massive Garrett Cole contract, Glaber is going to need to be re-signed, Judge is going to need to be re-signed, Severino, like I don't see them making that kind of signing. I'm predicting. I hate to talk about this while we're still playing, but I would be really shocked if Springer didn't start the 2021 season in a Red Sox uniform. I sure would love to see him in the orange and blue again, but I just don't know how likely that is. So maybe enjoy these last few games with George Springer hitting in the leadoff spot.
Well,
in
that
an
plays
orange
into
uniform.
my whole thing of winning it for George. I mean,
I would agree.
Get one more ring for George, and then he's gone, and that's 2 rings with Springer in an Astros uniform. I mean, he'd still be one of my favorite Astros.
You also hear players talk about a lot, right? Where it's like they have 2 goals. There's like the 2 major goals in career: win a ring, get paid. He's already won a ring. It's time to get paid.
Yeah, he's going to get paid, and he's going to ride off into the. He can ride off into the sunset in Boston, and I'm fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with that for George if that's what he wants to do, and that's what he ends up doing. It doesn't bother me because I think that's where he wants to end up, and I think the Astros moving forward have got some promising prospects. I mean, heck, Kyle Tucker doing all this year has been eye-opening for me and a lot of other people. I know you knew he was good.
I knew he was going to be good.
Kyle Tucker being this good for some people has been just outstanding news for everybody involved. So I'm excited about the prospect of him, and then you can move the outfield around. You can make things happen. I mean, I think still gonna be good.
If Springer walks, Brantley's almost for sure coming back. I feel pretty confident about that.
Yeah, and then
Jackie Bradley Jr. is also going to be a free agent. He'd make a lot of sense.
Just scoop him up. He's a speed guy.
Speedster, left-handed bat, can hit for pop. He's basically a higher ceiling Reddick, if that makes sense. He's a defensive stalwart,
Reddick is great on defense, but Reddick doesn't really have the offense that you can count on.
He's consistent, but he's not going to, hit the walk-off homers. He's not going to hit the 3-run bombs. But Jackie Bradley can do that, and Jackie Bradley's the type of dude that a scenery change might do him some good. That's a name to keep an eye on. There's a lot of other teams that would love Jackie Bradley Jr. So, but just something to chew on.
And then the Astros still have. We've seen all these younger, promising pitchers too. So there's still hope. There's still hope for Astros. So people were freaking out about the cheating and then the not having the picks, and they were like, "Oh, the Astros dynasty, it's completely over now. Boo-hoo, whatever, it's done now. The potential for an Astros dynasty is completely ruined." And I'm saying no. I'm saying this dynasty can still span. I'm saying we still have room to grow. We still have young guys coming in on both sides of the ball. And
I've got a young name for you to follow too.
I'm excited.
There's an outfielder by the name of Colin Barber. Keep an eye on that name. He's a young kid. He was a high schooler drafted last year by the Astros in like the 4th, 5th round. Has incredible raw power. He could be a 5-tool player. He's just got to be able to hit consistently. I think he got hurt his senior year of high school, so he didn't play or something like that. But that is a name to follow, Colin Barber. So if Colin Barber ends up being important in 2 to 3 years, you heard it here first in the 1203. Let's go back to current times. The Astros are either going to face Oakland or Chicago. Before the show started, Oakland had a lead on Chicago in Game 2 of the Wild Card Series. Chicago took Game 1. This is the Chicago White Sox. A's took Game 2, so it is tied 1-1. The Astros will face the winner of the White Sox and Athletics. I assume Game 3 will be played tomorrow. That'll be an interesting series. Who would you rather see? Oakland has kind of got the best of us this year, but Oakland doesn't scare me quite as much as Chicago does. Chicago's got some really big bats. They've got a really good young pitching rotation. It's a team kind of eager to win. something. White Sox just haven't been able to do much. And the A's are the A's. I mean, they're just a consistent, solid team. No really superstars unless you count Matt Chapman. But they've got pretty solid pitching all the way around. They have a rat in their rotation used to have a weird mustache, so maybe we could beat up on him a little bit. You know what? All of a sudden, I really want the A's just to spite Mike Fiers. But what do you think?
I'm really not. I'm really not scared of either team. To be honest with you, I get scared when I'm looking. I look ahead. I tend to do this sometimes with the Houston sports, and it always comes back to bite me in the butt. Obviously, the ALDS, now that we're there, is going to be difficult no matter who we play, A's, White Sox. But I'm already looking ahead to the ALCS, and the team that scares me the most right now in the AL is the Rays.
I agree.
The Rays are the team
are tough.
That I still think are going to win the AL, and the Astros may give them a fighting, a scare. But it doesn't shape up. It doesn't have that big, because, just the big dog feel and the fact that we've been there before. And if the Yankees get knocked out, that's wonderful. And then you're looking at, so the Indians, get knocked out by the Yankees, and then the Yankees get knocked out by maybe the Rays.
It'll be the Rays. The Rays are about to advance. They're up 8-2. They already have a one run. They already have a 1-game lead. They're up 8-2 in the bottom of the sixth on the Blue Jays.
And then so you have the Astros. If you get that's that point, the Astros versus the Rays in the AL. Well, actually, let's just talk about this. The next 4 teams remaining. You got the Yankees and Rays. We already think the Rays are going to win that. Then you have, say, the A's and the Astros. Are the Astros and the White Sox? It doesn't matter. But out of those teams, once the Yankees leave, the Astros are the only team that can look around and say, hey, we've been there before. Our guys have been there before. We're not scared. Our organization knows how to win in the playoffs. Yes, record-wise, we may be the suckiest team out there, record-wise, if you're going off a record. If you're going off a playoff experience and playoff mode, that's why I say I just look at the names of the teams that just haven't been there deep in the playoffs like the Astros have. The Astros are going to look around and be like, hey, we may not be the team that's supposed to win, but we have guys that know how to win, and sometimes that playoff experience, you see it in all types of sports all the time. The team with the less record, they go in and they play a team that's very experienced. They're the very experienced team, and they play a team that's been hot but is not as experienced at winning in the playoffs. And the team with the worst record ends up surprising them and beating them because they know how to win in October. And like you said, there's something to that. So none of the teams really if the Yankees can get knocked out, and then even though we've dominated the Yankees, I would still like them to get knocked out because they're still one of the names that scare me. But once they get knocked out and you're looking at the teams that have been there before, I'm excited about the Astros' chances. I really am. It's revitalizing my faith in the Astros watching these last 2 games. I've been out of the loop for a long time just because NBA, football, all this other crap is piled on, and I was just trying to tune out the Astros just because it was just one thing I couldn't focus on, couldn't really take it. But now I'm back in it, and I'm like, man, why not? The one thing the ESPN announcers said was the Astros are going to win this game, and they're going to look around the dugout and be like, why not us? Are we not good enough to win? And you look around at Greinke, McCullers, and then you look at the offense, Altuve, Correa, Springer, Brantley. They're going to look around the dugout and be like, yo, talent-wise, we're right there. We're not scared of these other guys. We've done it before. So I'm excited, man. Potentially, I'm really not that worried. I'm ready to see how this plays out. I'm actually not nervous. I'm excited because the Astros have been there and they have done it before.
I'd be shocked to see the Yankees get past the Rays. I'm just going to be honest. Yeah. I know
that's good.
I know that historically the Yankees have had the Rays number, but when you look at the Rays on paper, you mentioned not having teams that have made it that far. Rays have some dudes that have. They have Kevin Kiermaier. They've got Chuck. So I mean, they've got one of the best rotations in baseball. Be real shocked to see the Bronx Bombers get through Tampa Bay unscathed.
That's good. I mean,
So it's really going to come down for the Astros. I mean, obviously you can't take the A's for granted. You can't take Chicago for granted. Both teams are good. Both teams are playing a lot better than we've been playing lately. So you can't just forget about them. But if we're looking at the grand picture, it's gonna come down to can we beat the Rays? Because the Rays are just by far, in my opinion, the best team in the AL right now. The NL, I'm gonna look at that real quick. I don't think many of the NL games have been played. Now this is interesting. The Cardinals are currently on top of the Padres 6-3. The Padres are my favorite to come out of the NL, so that's interesting.
I saw a kid with the Padres beanie today, and I was like, he knows what's up. He's a real follower of the game.
Now they don't have the pitching depth that say the Dodgers do.
Their offense is crazy, right? I mean, their bats are insane.
They've got one of the just most talented teams in baseball.
Yeah.
Marlins took game 1 against the Cubs, which the Cubs were going to be a real threat. So keep an eye on that. Marlins have been a sneaky good team all year long. They don't have anybody you would peg as like a superstar. But they're just having a great year. They're getting the job done. Even with that whole fiasco they had early in the season where they missed like a whole week, they've still managed to have a great year. So,
yeah.
Reds fell game 1 to the Braves in 13 innings. Screw you, Tyler Bauer. I'm sorry. Let me make sure I get your name right. Tyler Bauer.
Tyler.
Shut the hell up, Tyler. Stop running your mouth. Go do something like advocate for baseball or something. I don't know. So yeah, Reds are about out. That'll make me feel much happier. Screw Tyler Bauer. So yeah, I don't know. The NL is looking very interesting. I don't really know who's going to come out of that. The Dodgers are looking very tough, but they always look tough. Then they get to the postseason and they wet the bed. So they got the Brewers, by the way. So that'll be an interesting series. I think they should handle them.
I guess the Dodgers are still
they're the number one seed.
Favorite in the NL, right? I mean,
well, they only lost like 15 games or something like that. So
it just seems like every year you have to look at the Dodgers.
They're the favorites. They're the favorites to lose to an AL team in the World Series every year. And that's the Dodgers.
Yeah, the one time the NL team does make it, it's not the Dodgers, it's the Nationals, and they end up. But yeah, if the Dodgers make the World Series, then the AL team has got to feel super confident, right? It's like, okay,
it's like, oh yeah, well this is a team that
we got this.
They know how to lose.
Walking it home, baby.
They know how to lose. We just gotta do our thing. We'll be all right. But
we're just gonna do our thing. We just gotta play ball. We just gotta show up, really. So show up, roll it out there.
It was a rough week. Rough week for my fantasy team, Parker.
Yeah, let's transition football time.
Let's talk some football. The Waluigi Whackers.
Man, I was looking at that, man. Like,
we're up there. We're up there in points scored. But man, we had a rough week. We lost last week. We lost week 1 by 1 point, even though we scored 125 points. We lost 126 to 125. 0-1. Got a pretty easy win last week, and then this week we came up short, 1-2. Had a terrible week. My opponent had Patrick Mahomes, who threw for like 50 points or something. So I had him beat by like 20 points, and then the Monday night game happened.
Looking at all the scores now, yeah.
Marquise Brown got like 2 points, and Patrick Mahomes got 50, thus resulting in my loss. So I'm 1-2. I've got the 3-0 team this week, the team leading the league. The team leading the league in everything, including points scored. So
the team that beat me just last week.
I've got the South Park Cows led by head coach Brian Erbst. So
I just played that team. I scored 139 points and still lost to the South Park Cows.
Yeah, I don't feel good about that.
They beat me 147-139. I actually had a hell of a week. I wouldn't have beaten any other team last week except for him.
I will say he's got Derrick Henry, and they are on a bye, so maybe that'll play to my favor. My issue is Chris Carson's hurt. I have to decide if I want to play, because my own dang defensive tackle tried to snap his leg, which that was a terrible thing to do. Tristan Hill's a punk, I learned. Even I tweeted about him earlier in that game. I was like, Tristan Hill's legit.
Yeah, that gator roll.
Because he was playing great. What
was that about?
And then he just did this junk move, and it made him look like a chump. Anyway, so I don't know. There's your fantasy football update. The Brian Erbst Cows, the South Park Cows, and then the Denver Corn team led by last year's champion, Zach. They are both undefeated. Zach's looking strong again. Ryan's Dunley Fires 2-1. Patrick is 2-1. Everyone else is 1-2 except for Cody, the new kid to the league. He is 0-3. So
it's a tough league to jump into and start winning games.
It's tough, man, because you got the top 2 who are kind of feeling pretty good, and then everyone else is just right there. There's not a whole lot of separation and points scored.
So on my team, I played the South Park Cows last week. Josh Allen scored 42 points on me.
Hey, he's legit, bro.
He went off, And another good player that went off, well, then two other guys scored 20 plus. Derrick Henry and Eckler for Carolina. Both the running backs scored over 20. My saving grace in that week, of course, Kyler Murray, 28 points. Solid, solid. Kamara had 31. Kamara's been great for me. Alvin Kamara has been awesome for me.
Yeah, you picked him before I could in the draft. I think you picked like right
he's
before
just a
me.
machine, man. And then Tyler Lockett. Lockett for the Seattle Seahawks.
Balling
Boom.
out.
28 points, 9 receptions, 100 yards, 3 touchdowns for me last week. And then my San Francisco defense did good. They actually got me 13 points. Pretty good for defense. So I'm right. I feel good about – and then going into this next week, I actually feel really good. Of course, I'm projected to win by quite a bit if I look at the actual scoreboard here. Yeah, I'm playing the Horned Frogs. They're 0-3. I guess that is
Cody's
team.
having a rough year,
Yeah,
but
so I am
he'll
playing
turn
Cody's
it around.
team, and I am predicted to win by about 17 points. So we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah, I'm
not
predicted to
taking
beat.
anything for granted.
I'm predicted to beat Brian, but he hasn't replaced Derrick Henry yet, so I don't know how much that means. Quick note before we get on to our real teams. If you were a fantasy owner and you need a quick flex or a backup running back, James Robinson, the Jacksonville running back, is killing it right now. Grab him while he's hot, trade him while he's hot. Just throwing that out there. I've got him in my flex this week. He's playing against a terrible defense in Cincinnati, hoping for big things there. So if you need someone to fill that spot at your backup running back, or you need a really good flex for an injury, there's been a ton of injuries. James Robinson, Jacksonville running back, pick him up. Let's talk about our teams. Dallas played my Super Bowl favorites right now, the Seattle Seahawks. Another team that doesn't have the best defense, but they do have a pretty good pass rush. And Russell Wilson had his way with the Astros secondary. With the Astros, we're still on Astros. With the Dallas secondary.
Yeah.
The Dallas secondary is so weird because, like, there are some good corners in there. You got guys like Chidobe Awuzie. You've got guys like Trayvon Diggs who actually matched up pretty decently with DK Metcalf, who's just a freak. So, I mean, you could match up with DK decently. You did a decent job. But, man, I just feel like there was a lot of miscommunications. They could have had an interception early in the game, turned over because Jordan Lewis doesn't know to keep his hands off people. Jordan Lewis had like 4 holding penalties. So Jordan Lewis is a bum, we learned. He's a talented corner, but he can't keep his hands to himself. I bet that dude got 3 holding calls by himself in that game. Don't know that for sure, but it was something like that. He definitely cost us an interception. Darryl Worley made like a diving interception, but because he held Tyler Lockett's like arm, interception turned over. 2 plays later, Tyler Lockett catches an out route for a touchdown. 1 of 3 for him. Dallas offense looked okay. Dak is on fire right now. His second game with over 400 passing yards. Just having a great year. Now his only knock, of course, he threw 1 interception that really wasn't his fault, but then he threw the 1 late in the game. Usually a pretty good late game performer, but this week he threw the late interception. And then Russell Wilson, of course, probably one of, if not the best quarterback in the league right now, leads Seahawks down the field and wins the game 38-31. Dallas is playing well enough to win. They've just got to get over the curve. Michael Gallup had a great game. Cedric Wilson, a dude that only had like 15 catches or something.
Great game.
Going into the game. 5 catches, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. Amari Cooper had 9 grabs, 86. CeeDee Lamb, 565. Running game, not really there. Elliott, 34 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The run game just wasn't a factor that time.
Passing game was great. Well, I mean, you might as well throw it. They were throwing it because Seattle also has a question.
Well, yeah, secondary. You were playing from behind the whole time.
Right. Well, not even that. Just Seattle's secondary is a question mark. It just, I mean, not as much as ours is. But
yeah, I guess you're right.
Dak got him. Dak got him for 470 yards. He threw 60 passes. So, I mean, they really only gave the ball to Zeke. They only gave him the ball 14 times. So, I mean,
it wasn't like they needed to run it. I just feel better when Zeke's numbers look a little. I feel better when Zeke does a little more of the offense. But I know Dak can obviously with this offense, he can do whatever he wants to do. So it was a good game, I thought, for Dallas. I mean, they fought hard to the end. I mean, this is a Super Bowl, like you said, a Super Bowl contender. I'm looking at if you're looking at MVPs right now, you've got Russell Wilson, you've got Pat Mahomes,
Josh Allen third.
I would even throw Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. Those are my 4. If you're looking at 4 front runners for MVP right now, Those are the guys.
I'd agree.
Josh Allen.
I'd agree.
How did Josh Allen get into that conversation?
He
I don't know.
is balling out. I don't want to get on this
The
big
boy
too
from
big of a
Wyoming,
side note.
baby.
We watched him play in college. He played against Texas State.
We did. We were covering that game. I was there. I was still on KTSW staff at the time. And I
Both
guess
were.
It was the year I was sports. I know, but I remember you were on the staff 1 year later than I was. But it was the year we were both on. Yeah,
right.
we probably. I was. Yeah. So
one of us probably produced that game. For being honest,
I 100% did. I remember being in the. Studio.
We used to have 2 or 3 of us in the studio for those, unless it got super late.
Yeah, we used to have a guy. We used to have almost.
We did a producer and then someone who would do like the halftime show, and sometimes we'd have a second for the halftime show.
Just show. It was always a good one to shadow because I always wanted people to shadow those games because you could see it was laid back. It wasn't a lot of fast paced. It was very easy to produce because it was already. I mean, we were just streaming it off of something else, so it was really super easy to produce. But yeah, so it was always fun watching those games. But yeah, well, Josh Allen, the boy from Wyoming, really surprised me. I was just, the only comment I was going to make was about the rushing game, but it wasn't like the offense. The offense really wasn't the problem. If you score 31 points,
you had a good day.
It's just that Seattle offense, man. And there's really nothing.
Well, and there's the Dallas secondary.
About it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, Zeke did touch the ball 20 times because he had 14 carries, but he had 6 receptions, and he had 6 more targets. So they were putting the ball in Zeke's hands, just not in the way they normally do.
He's just such a freak of nature that you just want. But Cowboys have a lot of options, so
they'll be okay. They'll get back to 2-2 this week. They're playing the Browns. If you're a betting man, put the money on the Browns and put the money on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I bet the Cowboys win that by at least 2 touchdowns. Browns are 2-1, but they're the Browns. They're just never going to. They've got a talented team, but they're not on par with the Seahawks and I won't even say the Cowboys. I mean, they're just not quite there. Anyway, let's move on to the Texans. Texans are 0-3, a little bit of a rough start for the Texans. They fall to the Steelers. Another good game, 28-21. Big Ben is able to lead the Steelers to a late win. Deshaun Watson, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. I took note of he was sacked 5 times. That is a lot. Not much of a rushing game at all. 23 rushing yards for big old David Johnson. He did have 23 receiving yards as well. Give him about 50 yards of offense. Not a whole lot of rushing attack. Randall Cobb had a good game. Will Fuller had a decent game. What did you take away from that one?
Well, I was trying to pull this up, but so I was watching the game. I took away from the fact that it was 21-17 at halftime. The Texans were up. Texans were up 21-17 at the half. Deshaun Watson actually had a good touchdown drive to end it. So Pittsburgh scored a touchdown. Texans got the ball with about 1:50 left, 1:40 around there. Deshaun Watson takes the Texans down the field, marches them down the field, and scores a touchdown. He passes it to Will Fuller. Boom. They take the lead going into halftime, 21-17. I felt like all the momentum was on the side of the Texans going into halftime. And then whatever happened at halftime, it just completely halted. It just completely stopped. They didn't score a single point in the second half. So really, that's all you have to say. If you scored 0 points in the second half, you're not going to win very many games. They scored all 20. They were on pace to have a 40-point game. They were on pace to. The offense looked great in the first half, and then all of a sudden they stopped. And I think that was a lot to do with you have to understand that the offense with and I know they tried to run it. See, they gave it 13 times to David Johnson, so it's not like they kept pounding their head against the wall. But in my opinion, and I know everyone wanted this team to be built up where they ran the ball and then Deshaun Watson had a lot more of a person to hand it off to, and that was great. But in my opinion, they have to go no huddle, and they have to go fast, and they have to spread the receivers out, and they have to let Watson do his thing. They can't be this predictable run, pass offense. I was looking at all the game chats, and that's what everybody was saying. Run, pass, run, pass, run, pass. Every single game, the Texans do this. They get a lead, and then all of a sudden they get very conservative play calling. They need to take a note from Andy Reid and company. If you have a good quarterback, run the score up. You're never going to have enough points in the NFL to win a game. I'm sorry. You can be up 28-3 at halftime. We've seen it in the Super Bowl. You can be up like the Falcons were against the Cowboys and blow a game. So you have to keep the pedal to the metal. Texans get this lead, and then all of a sudden, Bill O'Brien, I don't know what it is, but it just gets way conservative. And the Texans, even though Watson was having trouble, you have to keep spreading it out. You have to keep passing. And the reason he was having trouble, I think, was because of the predictability. And when the Texans huddle up and you know they're going to run the ball, it slows things down. But if they go no huddle, pedal to the metal, which is when Watson is really good. When you go no huddle, it eliminates. You don't really have to be this. Like, I'm not saying Watson's not smart, but he does make mistakes, and so it eliminates those kind of mistakes. You look at like, man, those are bonehead decisions. Because if you're going no huddle, then the defense is all of a sudden backing up, playing. They don't have the right personnel. You can bang, bang, bang. You can get a quick score. The Texans are not good at those sustaining long drives. They're good at those. Oh, there's a hole in the defense. Let's strike quick and score now. That's how the Texans scored. It reminds me of the Rockets. The Rockets, they shoot those threes before the defense sets up. That's how the Texans have to do. They have to go for those shots down the field before the defense can get set up. Because once the defense is set up, Bill O'Brien's offense and Tim Kelly's offense is just way too damn predictable. And until we get a new OC, no huddle. I'm not saying no huddle all the time, but you got to pick up the pace on offense. The sense of urgency. I talk about that a lot in football. Sense of urgency has to be there for the Texans. Right now you're 0-3. You're not a good. Bill O'Brien will tell you this is a good football team. We just got to get better. We got to get better. No, right now you're a bad team. You're a bad football team. You're 0-3 as far as I'm concerned. You have to play with a little sense of urgency. You have to play like even if you're up 21-17 at the half to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which are a pretty good football team and a great coach over there in Mike Tomlin. You have to play that game like you're down 30-7. You don't have the personnel to run out the clock. The Texans don't have the personnel to play possession by possession. They have to go for the home run hits because that's the personnel they have. They have to go for those quick strikes. So the desperation just wasn't there for the Texans.
Absolutely. They do have a chance to get a win this week against the 0-3 Vikings, so keep an eye on that one.
Well, the Texans are actually predicted to win that game, but I don't put any stock in it.
The Vikings are struggling, but they do have a great run game and a quarterback that can win when he puts it all together, so that's something to keep an eye on. Before we start wrapping today's show up, we did have a couple comments. I did not see them. I was looking stuff up on my phone, so I want to get to those real quick. And then Parker and I have one more debate. We don't debate a ton on this show. Sometimes when we do debate, it gets intense. This one might get really intense, so get ready for that. Let's answer some comments.
It's FYI.
This is what makes it great.
Oh wait, no, I do.
I think you know what it is.
I'm excited about it.
All right. Let's get to some comments. Raft Productions. He might not be watching anymore, but he said, "Let's go Stros. Who would you prefer to play, the White Sox or the A's?" I think we might have answered this.
You said you'd rather play the A's.
I said I'd rather play the A's.
I said I'm already looking forward to the Rays, so forgive me. But
but
I'm already looking forward to the Tampa Bay Rays.
And then Patrick said, "Who did I lose to last week? I lost to you, Patrick. Does that make you feel better?" Actually, I think I lost to you week 1. It wasn't last week.
There's always that one.
Get your shit right, Patrick. It was 2 weeks ago.
There's always that one brother. I think he may have tried. Oh no, he messed that up too. Yeah, Patrick was trying to get at you, but
anyway, Ryan said, "Hold on, the Funky Fire." He means the Dunley Fire has the most points. If I remember correctly, you may have the lead by like half a point. If you care that much, I'll give it to you. So Dunley Fire, the Brian Earp's team has 380.5. Ryan has him beat by 0.5. No, he's got 0.15 points on him. Not even half a point. So get over yourself.
We start talking about the Draft Fantasy League, and that's when the people start chiming in.
It gets intense.
It gets serious. Yeah.
Astros playoffs. Yeah, that's cool and all. Astros win. NFL football. The Draft Fantasy League is where it gets intense. Let's talk about intense. Parker and you and I were texting this weekend.
This was awesome. Yeah.
You and I
love the character, but I still stand by mine.
You and I both love the TV show New Girl.
Started watching it again. Yep.
I watched it in college. I got Jess onto it, so we're watching it again. You're watching it now. You said you've seen it before. You're watching it again now.
I watched it up until a certain point, and then I think I stopped watching it because my first I liked Coach, the character Coach, but I've changed my mind on that. But I
Coach
liked the
was
character Coach
he's
for a
there.
while.
He's just annoying.
Coach was cool for a little bit of time, but he's not a mainstay character. He's not the guy I want to hang my hat on. But yeah, so I stopped. I was like into that, and then I stopped watching it when he kind of left. But now I've actually continued to watch it. I'm at season 5 now, and it's where like Megan Fox kind of comes in, and she's a character on the show for a while.
Well, see,
I'm in that season.
I'm in like season 3 in my rewatch right now.
Okay, season 3 is good.
But I've seen
Coach
all
comes
of
back
them.
by then. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
Coach is back already. I just watched the episode not too long ago where he and Jess are watching the Bulls together, and Nick's getting jealous of it, which is a great episode.
Season 4 is where my character really starts to shine, in my opinion. The one we're about to talk
See,
about.
I disagree, but I'm gonna let you go first.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're talking about characters. I said I think the funniest character on the show is Winston. He's a guy. The reason I said Winston at first was because I said Coach at first because he was the sports guy. Yada yada yada. He was like the big alpha male. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I kind of like him, but at the same time, I don't relate to Coach at all. He's a super buff guy. Everything in life's really easy for him until he meets that one girl, and then that's when he starts to fall in love. But he's just like the super alpha male guy. 100% alpha male, that's his character. He's like the big dog of the group. But then he leaves. It's fine. He's funny, but he's not. But then you have this guy Winston who was like okay at basketball, but he wasn't that good. He ended up playing overseas in Latvia, and he was terrible. He ended up getting injured. His luck has always been bad. He's the guy who's constantly getting shit on in the show. Throughout the show, that's the theme. Is like, oh, Winston's here. Oh, I don't want to talk to him.
Something's going wrong for Winston. Something's not going right.
Something's always going wrong in Winston's life. So, and then he ends up getting a cat, Ferguson, who he straight up steals from this girl he's dating. So he's dating this girl. She wants him to babysit the cat. He does it thinking he's in with this girl. And then he finds out this girl has a boyfriend or she's sleeping with somebody else. And so he straight up says, okay, now the cat's mine. Keeps the cat. No more fighting. He just takes the cat from this girl, Ferguson, who ends up being like a pretty big character in the show. And then he ends up, he gets on the sports radio show earlier on in the season.
Yeah, this is like season 2.
I enjoyed that. That was funny because he ends up doing the whole sports radio thing. And then that doesn't end up working. And then he's trying to figure out what he wants to do. And then he decides to be a cop. And everybody's like, Winston, you're too nice. You're going to get yourself killed. And he's like, no, I can do it, whatever. Somehow he manages to become a cop. And then all of a sudden he's like in charge of all this shit. And it's like, dude, what the hell? And one of the main things I like about Winston too is he calls himself Prank Sinatra, which means he thinks he's good at pranks. The hilarious part is he's not good at pranks. He goes either really small or really big. For example, on the show, there's this scene where he puts like a little rock or like a little feather in one of the characters' shoes, and they feel the shoe and like, oh, this feels weird, and they take off the shoe and they dump it out and like, oh, a feather in there. How'd it get in there? And Winston's over there like he's like busting out laughing. He thinks it's the funniest. He's like, and it's like it's not even that funny. It's stupid that you're laughing at it, Winston, because that's the part he's so cringy that it doesn't work. It's not that he's traditionally funny. It's just why are you a human? Like you're terrible at being a human being.
You're bad at this human thing.
I think someone even says that you're not a good human being. And then he ends up going big. And one of the parts that I noticed that I was like, not the wedding, but it was one of the things where Schmidt and Cece in the later seasons, where he's like, Jess, the main character, is talking to Winston. He's like, no, do not prank. You're terrible at this. You either go too big or too small. And then it flashed back to him and Nick sitting on the couch, and Winston's just sitting there like, look at your picture. It's Nick's picture, and Nick is like, did you put me, because he's a cop now, so he has access to all these lists. He's like, did you put me on like a child predator list? And he's like, yeah, I put you on a watch list. It's like, no, that's terrible. You can't do that to people. He completely abuses his power as a cop. Just the little things he does. I don't think he understands it. I think he thinks he's really funny, and he's just not. He thinks he's cooler than he is, too, but everything he does is terrible. So that's kind of why I picked Winston. But.
See, I love Nick because I don't think the show is what it is without Nick. And Nick is like so unique in he's just weird in his own way. Like you've never seen someone weird in the way that Nick is, and you cannot tell me.
Unique.
You cannot tell me that the show's best scenes don't usually include Nick Miller in some fashion. One of the best scenes in the show, and Winston is in this scene. It's the scene where him and Schmidt are arguing about the towel. and Nick's just cluelessness to like the situation. Like Schmidt's like, why is my towel still like?
And Schmidt's the super clean freak.
Yeah, and Schmidt's like, why is it still damp? He goes, I can tell you why it's damp, Schmidt, because that's my towel. That's not your towel. And they all come to the realization that they've been using the same towel for like months and months and months.
Yeah, for a long time.
And Schmidt goes, did you even wash it? And Winston and Schmidt and Nick goes, no, I didn't wash it. I don't wash the towel. The towel washes me. Yeah. And his girlfriend gives him this like look. He's like, you wash your towels? Like he's like genuinely shocked that she washes her towels. He's like, you wash your towels? Like you wash your towels? What? Like that scene is just all of Nick's scenes. His little thing that he does when he's trying to get out of awkward situations and
backpedaling away. Yeah.
I feel like I relate to Nick so much, and like. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Winston. So like Winston is really funny, right? He's a funny character. The show could survive without Winston, but I don't think it could survive without Nick. I think Nick is so important to this show. Like, I mean, obviously he's probably the second most important character because he's the one that dates Jess, and then later on this. I don't want to spoil anything, but later on in the series, stuff happens, and
the show actually gets really stupid without Jess. Though there's a section of it without Jess where she goes to jury duty, and it's still funny. Don't get me wrong.
Well, she's definitely the main character. Yeah. But I don't know. New Girl's a great show. My favorite character is Nick Miller. His favorite character is Winston. We were debating a little bit as to who the best character is.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny just because, they're both terrible. Like, I don't know. I guess I relate to Winston too because he tries to do everything right, and it's like, no, you just come off as hard. Like, don't do that. You can't do that in public.
I will say the episode
you're not allowed to do those things.
The episode where he's trying to get his cat laid and he has like this date set up with another girl.
He's talking about getting his cat laid. He's like,
yeah, he has this other lady who has a cat come over, who has a cat, and the whole time she thinks she's coming over to hook up with him.
Like thinks he's talking about himself.
Yeah, and the entire time he's trying to set up their cats. That was a great episode. I'll give you that.
At the very end of the show, because how Winston talks, he's like. And then she goes, so you were talking. She actually realizes the whole thing was an arranged cat hookup thing.
Yeah, she gets weirded out.
Trying to get my cat laid, yeah. Him and Ferguson's relationship, a little weird. Really weird.
That's my issue with Winston. Winston, when you start getting to the end of the series, he just gets too weird. Like, it's just...
they push him too far.
The shit that he's doing has like nothing to do with anything else in the series, and he's just kind of off doing his own weird shtick with his cop girlfriend that makes no sense.
See, I didn't get to that part. Oh, the cop. Yeah, you're right. The cop girlfriend. He starts to get with. See, right now he's not with her yet. He's just. I haven't really ever got to that part.
Well, I don't want to give too many spoilers because someone who listens or is watching might eventually want to watch New Girl. And it is a great show. Highly, highly recommended if you need something to watch.
Coach is my second favorite character, by the way. Coach is right there for me.
Coach is pretty good.
He just doesn't stay in there long.
Coach is just a one-trick pony. That's the thing for me. I love Nick and then Schmidt because Schmidt goes through so much character development more than any other character.
Schmidt gets better, yeah.
Yeah, so Schmidt and then Cece, of course. I think Cece has one of the more important characters in that like she deals with like a lot of things that real like people of color, real women, like she deals with a lot of real issues. So I think that her character is really interesting.
There is a timely episode with Winston though when he is a cop and he dates that girl who's anti-police.
That's true.
He's protesting, and then Winston has this tries to have this deep conversation with Coach because every now and then Winston gets like super deep, and he's Nick's best friend. I guess that's why it works.
Yeah, well Nick has like three best. So Nick is the one that's brought all these people together. So like Nick is friends with Winston. He's friends with Winston from childhood.
He's been friends with Winston longer. He's been friends with Winston since growing up.
He and Winston were childhood friends, and then him and Schmidt were college friends. And I don't remember where he met Coach, but they all met Coach through Nick. So Nick's like the glue that keeps everyone together.
They actually had like the scene. Coach was like later on, they were all watching some game, and then like they just called him Coach, and that's how he got his name. I don't think his real name's not Coach. I forgot what his real name is.
I don't know if they ever tell us.
Yeah.
We don't need to. Anyway.
Yeah, he's Coach.
Quick note. Texas State football. Two Texas State notes. Texas State football played well enough to beat Boston College. Came up short, but they're definitely just trying to get over the hump from going from being a pretty talented team to a good football team. So we won't hit on them too much, but I mean, thought they played well enough to win. Just got to get over the hump. Another really interesting Texas State note: Texas State volleyball came in at number 15 in the AP poll today. So exciting things for Texas State volleyball. They were a really good program when we were there. Of course, the famous Coach Chisholm retired, but the program is still succeeding under Coach Hewitt. That's exciting to see.
Well, and just real quick before we close it, Bobcats are on ESPN2 this coming week. They're playing Troy, 11 a.m. on Saturday.
So that's a big Sunbelt game.
That's going to be a game. That's going to be a big one. And the Bobcat schedule, I was actually looking at the Sunbelt. It's actually gonna be a pretty hard schedule, but it's going to be fun at least. At least the games are going to be fun. I don't know what the record's going to look like. I'm predicting maybe 3 or 4 wins by the end of it because they do play some really tough teams. But the Troy game is going to be big. If they can beat Troy, then all of a sudden you look at the schedule like, I'm confident now. I think we can, do things. But Troy's going to be difficult. See how close they keep that game. Still one of the best receiving cores in the nation.
I 100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah.
Normally, for those of y'all that are kind of our Texas State fan base, we will give a more in-depth breakdown. Boston College definitely deserves more of a breakdown, but today, just with the being the Astros advance, wanted to focus on that. So we'll get a little bit more in-depth breakdown of Texas State football next week, as I have had people tell me they enjoy it when we talk Texas State football. So we will talk it next week.
There's a big chunk of our audience.
That is gonna do it for today. The 12:03. Great episode. The Astros advance. Both our football teams suck, but we're almost there. Texas State football is almost over the hump.
Sponsored by New Girl.
Hopefully, hey,
wait.
Who produces New Girl? Is it NBC?
Actually, I have to probably NBC. I'm not sure. No, it's Fox. It's Fox.
Fox, send us some money. Maybe
I see that every
maybe we can get the actor for Nick Miller on the show. That'd be great.
Jake Johnson, by the way, he's in a new animated show. It's called Hoops on Netflix. Season 1's already out. Check it out on Netflix. Hoops. Jake Johnson's the main character. It's pretty funny. I gotta admit, I do like Jake Johnson as an actor. He's great.
Look at us in the 1203, talking sports and local media.
We know a lot of things.
That we're not even gonna touch on the debate. We're just gonna end this thing right now. 1203. See you next week.
God.
Peace.